Welcome to this episode of the People Dividend Podcast. I'm Mike Horne. I'm your host, and I am thrilled to have a return, a repeat, but present and excellent guests for those of you who listen to the People Dividend Podcast regularly or in the old version, the Authentic Change podcast. You know that we rarely invite guests back, but Gina Riley is so fascinating about careers and career coaching and her important topic of career velocity. And she has a new book out in that regard. And I'm so delighted to be among the first talking with Gina about her new book. And the title is just absolutely fantastic. And so, Gina, just tell us about yourself again, reintroduce yourself to our audience, and let's talk about what we're here for.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be back a second time. Thanks for having me. I am a career transition coach. I've been at this for a number of years, and what I bring to my expertise is 10 years in corporate. I worked for Intel for a decade. I've got a master's degree in whole systems design. I have led executive searches for Talents Group, executive search. And what I have learned in my journey is that it takes a lot more than a resume to land interviews and get the job. And it's even more so today with the onslaught of AI and the easy apply button. And so that is what inspired me to write the book.
Boy, it's so true about AI. As I think about the speaking engagements I've had over the last 8 or 9 months, a number of them have been on artificial intelligence and people and culture and what all of that means. I mean, we see with AI and people and culture, with organizations, we see the efficiency gains. We see the possibilities for innovation. We see the possibilities for personalization. And this all comes with, operating at a different speed, at a different pace. And that's why I love your choice of words on career velocity. And can you just break down that concept for the audience, please?
I'd be happy to. So career velocity is really a 9-step model, and it's in 3 phases, and which my book, incidentally, we'll do the reveal on the title first. How about that, Mike?
Yeah, let's go.
What helped me come up with this title, which was a struggle. I wanted to call it career velocity, but it wasn't resonating. And so what I came down to is you and I, Mike, know a lot of people who will say something like this. I applied to 300 jobs in the last couple of months. I didn't get a single call back, and I was qualified for all of them. And so the answer to that, using my career velocity model, is my book called Qualified Isn't Enough. Develop your story, land the interview, and get the job. And so what goes into that are 3 phases. Phase 1 of career velocity is 5 chapters in the book. You're developing your UVP, your unique value proposition. This is what you can say about yourself for sure that is different than anybody else. No matter if you're sitting in a room, virtually or otherwise, there's other candidates that have the minimum qualifications to make it into those interviews. I call that table stakes, Mike. What is your differentiator or set of differentiators? That's what the first part of the book is about. Developing stories around your unique talents. And you and I've talked about the Strengths Finder in the past, what your values are, what motivates you, what is your leadership approach? How do you infuse that into your interview stories? And then what is your career thread? What are the themes and patterns of your career that inform your unique journey so that when you get all of those interview and networking conversations going, you can answer, tell me about yourself. And you need to answer that in an interview scenario in less than 5 minutes. So I've crafted that in a way that it's not an elevator pitch that sounds sort of like, I almost want to say hokey in marketing. This is the answer to who you are and how you got to where you are as you interview with someone. So that's phase 1.
It's great. It's a really wonderful title. I mean, to think about qualified isn't enough. Develop your story, land the interview. win the job. And I see this particularly with um, director level, associate director, folks who are identified as high potentials, but there's a squeeze in certain industries right now. And it's challenging despite the enormous talent that these folks bring to, every situation, trying to do their best. So this idea of qualified isn't enough. Another reason I love it is when I was speaking at a conference recently in San Francisco on AI, along with the CEO of TrustMe.ai, myself, Capgemini consultant, and another colleague. One of the things that we discussed in terms of, is all the bots that are at work and how you could fake out the search and the particular search tools that recruiters and talent acquisition teams and departments might use. And as think about AI, how it seems so important to be able to tell an authentic career story, and maybe that's what your work. I mean, your qualified isn't enough is so important. What do you think, Gina?
We're on the same page for sure. So the way any candidate needs to be thinking about their career transition strategy is the stories that they're going to tell that will convince a decision maker that they're the right choice. And at this point, I think that it's pretty safe to say today, as we record this, that AI is not necessarily helping people get seen, and getting seen is the biggest part of the battle. And then you have to have your stories to carry with you into the conversations. If you haven't shored that up, why are you applying in the first place? But back to what you're saying about AI. When I was doing research for chapter 6 of my book, which is about marketing, so that's creating your resume documents and your LinkedIn profile, certainly you need to have keywords that match up in your marketing. But what I've learned through my research and different experts weighing in is that if you use the easy apply button and you're doing the spray and pray method, like I'm going to apply to 500 jobs in the next couple of months, there's a chance that the systems think that you are a bot.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can get tagged as a bot, and then you'll never know that your application got schlepped to the side and never got seen in the first place. So all that effort, Mike, going into that, maybe for nothing. This is why, and the people you and I serve, and I call it the tip of the triangle, it's the leadership roles that there's a less of them. You must be networking.
Oh, well, absolutely. And particularly, one of the things that AI is creating is the erosion of middle management. I mean, typically a manager today is also a working person. Spans of control are bigger. And, what I think we've talked about in career development for some time is, credentials and experience aren't enough. I mean, they used to be the things that could get you by. You got a great set of credentials, you got some experiences that support you. But now those things are still important. You shouldn't count them out. But we also have what the real differentiator, I think, is in today's marketplace is the ability to learn. Can you demonstrate, your agility, your interest in an organization, your interest in working with a particular manager? What say you, Gina Riley, expert in all of this?
Oh gosh, I feel like we're in the same brain today. So yes. So I use the adaptive leadership model to uncover the leaders' approaches of whom I'm working with, so that we
Heifetz,
can go
right?
back.
Is that Ron Heifetz, right? Adaptive
It's
leadership.
Heifetz and Linsky,
Right.
Marty Linsky. And I had the pleasure of talking to Marty during the pandemic. He offered me an interview, and I wrote an article about the leadership model.
Super.
What I love about the model, and they're out of Harvard, by the way. It's a 6-step model, and it's not the model to end all models. There's tons of leadership approaches, but it is a way for any given candidate to quickly come up with some language about how they lead during times of change. And today and going forward, it's all going to be about change. So do you have to go, do big assessments in order to get this language for your interview stories? You don't. You need enough that differentiate you. And the reason why, I'm going to give you a story, Mike, because stories are the best, right? Is I was working with a very, very senior level person at Google, female happened to be in this case, and she would walk me through her interview stories, and she would gloss over her leadership approach, and she would jump to, and then my team delivered this amazing product that, millions, maybe billions of people use all around the world. So this incredible result. And because I had already done her unique value proposition and understood her leadership approach, I said, well, didn't you have to gather a lot of information from a lot of cross-functional stakeholders? Did you have to prepare a report, and who did you present it to get the money to fund that product development? She said, oh yeah, I had to go stand in front of 12 VPs and convince them. She totally missed all this in the story, Mike. It
Oh
was
my goodness.
completely underselling her genius.
Yeah, and that's often the case, isn't it? That yeah, we shortchange ourselves, we undersell ourselves. I see it probably on the other end of the spectrum where people uh, seemed seem unable to step into their potential, or as Bob Keegan and Lisa Leahy would say, that understand their immunities to change. And you made me think about those. I did a coach certification with Bob and Lisa, and certainly Marty Linsky and adaptive leadership was a sort of kindred spirit in the work that Bob Keegan and Lisa Leahy were doing on immunity to change. So um, it is part of with career velocity and understanding that qualifications aren't enough. What's the first step a person has to take in order to sort of dial into that?
Yeah. So dialing in to me is first shoring up your unique value proposition so you can say without a shadow of a doubt what it is that you do best.
Great.
And then there's this shift into aligning your stories. So your marketing is done, your LinkedIn is done. And now we're on to steps 7 and 8, and that's interview prep and job search strategy. So how are you getting that career velocity, if you will? You're aligning your interview stories with the ideal job descriptions along with the research that you have done in order to understand what the hairy problems are that you would solve if you're the finalist that they choose. And so to gain that ultimate offer, you need to stand out as what I call the candidate of choice. And how do you do that? You have to show up with the right stories. You have to show up with the right presence. And you and I talked about this in our last podcast, that executive presence, or we could call it professional presence. There's 3 universal dimensions of executive presence. And the top 2 out of the 17 micro components is confidence and decisiveness. So you need to walk in the room and command the room in such a way that you ingratiate yourself and that you instill confidence and trust in your abilities.
Yes, it's so true. I think to have this sense of confidence, and even better yet, if it's grounded in competence, but to
Mhm.
think about and to consider, many people ask me what makes a successful organization development consultant. I think the answer is really easy, and it's one word. And it's about having clients. Have clients, not successful. And I wonder if that's also true in job search as it is in consulting. Some people who are really great at marketing, but aren't able to pull the trigger on business development. I mean, which is a different skill set. And I'm wondering if there's some relationship to how you see that in terms of your current book.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to what we're really great at, or our genius zone at work, doesn't always translate to being a job seeker. And one of the quotes that I like to use, and she says I quote her, she says it came from an anonymous source, is it's hard to read the label when you are inside of the jar.
Hmm.
It's hard to draw out of what you offer and then be able to communicate that. And so, yeah, I've worked with sales leaders and marketing leaders who haven't been able to articulate that until we unpack it, of course. One of my favorite stories, I was working with a chief marketing officer. He helped grow a company from 40 to 400 million over his 20-year career. He chose to leave because it was time to do something different. When we got through the first part of my program and getting his UVP shored up, he sat back and kind of did a little gasp for air. He was like, oh, that's me. You got it. And I'm like, well, this is you. It's just hard to read the label when you're inside of the jar. But once we did that, and then we started translating that into his impact and his value, then he could tell his stories with confidence. But before that time, he knew he had been rambling and he knew he was missing opportunities, right? And you've probably heard it plenty of times, Mike, where people ramble and then your brain shuts off, right?
Right. I mean, certainly, it's a great illustration and example of um, understanding the value of external perspective. And I think that's what, I know I bring as an executive coach and organization development consultant. Sometimes when you're inside your own culture, your own organization, inside your own team, you're unable to find some interesting insights and experiences, or unable to surface them in a way that is meaningful and productive and bears the elements for productive change. And
Mhm.
I suppose that's a lot about what we get people ready to do with qualified isn't enough, is to begin that period of productive change.
Absolutely. It's a mindset shift from initially people may have a lot of hubris and think, wow, I'm awesome. This is great. Then a layoff or something hits and they look around like, wow, there's a lot of people that seem and look like me and there's not very many opportunities that I see to apply to. There needs to be a way to get grounded in yourself and get that confidence. And this is the best way I know how. Sometimes I don't know about you, Mike, but sometimes I'll have clients that will also hire a therapist in conjunction with the coaching because it's two different levels of expertise. And some of the people I'm working with are dealing with the heartache and the change and transition, as we've talked about in the past with William Bridges, is they have to concurrently go through that while they plan for a job search.
Yeah, so important to get that clear with so many clients about the coaching relationship versus the therapeutic relationship, even though both can produce certain catharses that are essential to growth and development, which is usually accompanied by lots of anxiety anyway. So,
Oh my goodness.
uh,
Yes.
as we think about that. And in terms of, I always think about September as back to school time and, a great opportunity to learn. So here we are with qualified isn't enough. It's September. It's that back to school spirit. It's the,
Mhm.
let's be inquisitive. Let's be curious about ourselves. And you can, as you read that, you just extend it right out to think about your work in January and the year ahead with your team and your own leadership. And
Mhm.
such a great time to be thinking about this work, as we often think about the beginning of the year as a sense of renewal. And who doesn't want to, you know, direct the significance of their career? And that's a way to do that with qualified isn't enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Well,
And
yes.
what I would add too, and the one little piece that we didn't discuss is the end cap to the career velocity system, which is chapter 9. It's on thought leadership. And you and I work with people who are brilliant at what they do, but they don't let that shine. They don't put themselves out there. And it doesn't have to be a TED Talk, right, Mike? It can be short form posts, it could be short form articles, it could be being on a podcast, it could be a panelist at a conference, it could be writing a white paper and making sure that people see it. But in order to not feel stuck in the future, you cannot wait to get plucked out of obscurity into your next job and the next one unless you have an incredible team of mentors and sponsors who are always advocating for you. So my recommendation is that you build a thought leadership strategy, which my book also has like my frameworks for that as well.
Wow, that's great. And Gina, if people want to be in touch with you, how would they do that?
It's easy. I'm at Gina Riley at GinaRileyConsulting.com. I'll have, the book being splashed everywhere. And also reaching out on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out. That's where I do all my posting. I also write for Forbes Coaches Council. There's, gobs of articles on the Forbes Coaches Council website. So easy to find, I think.
Well, always so great to be in conversation with a career expert, a career velocity expert. an author of Qualified Isn't Enough, Gina Riley. It's really for everyone in our audience today and every human resources leader out there, a great way to think about and to help your teams and your organizations on these important issues of career development, even more important, given where we are today. So, Gina Riley, once again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mike.
And until the next episode of the People Dividend, stay well.